Hi, friends. My name is Pastor Jeff, and I have a special message for the children. I apologize that I forgot to include a very special video that Pastor Sharon made yesterday for the Maundy Thursday service. And I apologize to Pastor Sharon as well and her film crew at home. It was a wonderful video and is a wonderful video telling a little bit about what happened on Holy Thursday in the life and ministry of Jesus and the disciples. And so we're making a very special video just featuring Pastor Sharon telling that story. If you know kids in your life that you would like to share this video with, we encourage you to do so.
Hello, children of the church. Hello, youngest Christians. Hello to our youngest disciples. It's Pastor Sharon again. I'm very happy to spend some time with you through the computer screen. And today is Maundy Thursday. If you're watching this on a Thursday, it's a special night that we remember between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. And it's a night that Jesus shared a final meal with his friends, his followers, his disciples, and we call it the Last Supper. And Jesus did 3 really surprising things during the Last Supper, and I want to share those 3 things with you in this little video. The first thing Jesus did, first I want to tell you a little bit about this meal. So this was a Passover meal. And when Jesus was alive, the Jewish people had already been celebrating Passover for 1,000 years. So it was a very ancient celebration. And the night that Jesus gathered with his disciples, he did something early in the evening that was very surprising to them. He washed their feet. Now, this was something that was usually done because people's feet in those days would get very dusty and dirty. They would wear sandals and walk on the dusty roads. But this was usually done by a servant or maybe a slave. But here was Jesus doing this for his disciples. And we read about it in the Bible, and this is what it says. And during supper, Jesus got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you." And so here's a question for you to think about and maybe talk about with friends or family or other grown-ups. So Jesus washed the disciples' feet at the Last Supper and served them in that way. How might Jesus want you to serve your family, your friends, your church, and your community? The second really surprising thing that Jesus did was during the Passover meal. The meal is a time when the Jewish people remember that God freed them from slavery and delivered them into freedom. And while they were having the meal, Jesus took the bread and gave it to his disciples, and he said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this to remember me." And after the supper was over, he gave them a cup of wine, and he said, "Drink from this cup, because this is my blood of the new covenant, and I want you to do this as a way of remembering me." And here's how we read about it in the Bible. Jesus' follower Paul wrote this in the Bible. The Lord Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body that is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, he took the cup also after supper and said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me." So this was the very first celebration of Holy Communion. Jesus took the Passover celebration and turned it into a new celebration, a celebration of Holy Communion. Won't it be wonderful when we can celebrate Holy Communion together again in our sanctuary? And when we do, we remember all the things that Jesus did, all that he said, the things that he taught, the ways that he healed. And we also remember that he loves us so much that he was willing to die on the cross. So the question I have about this part is, what are some special meals that you have shared with friends and with family? And what does the celebration of Holy Communion mean to you? The third thing that Jesus did that was so surprising to his friends, his followers, the disciples on that night was he gave them a new commandment. Maybe you've heard of the 10 Commandments that Moses gave to the Jewish people, and maybe you know that there were many, many commandments that God gave to the people. But on this night, Jesus gave them a new commandment. And here's what he said as we read it in the Bible. Jesus said, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." So my question for you to think about and maybe talk about is, who in your life is it easy for you to love? And who in your life is it hard for you to love? And how does your faith in God help you to love other people? And so now as we close our time together, I want you to see some of these pictures, some of these images that artists have created of the Last Supper. We don't know what it really looked like, but some artists have made different types of pictures of what they think it might have looked like when Jesus gathered with his friends, his followers, his disciples for a final special meal together on the last night they would spend together before Jesus died on the cross. Thanks so much for spending some time with me, and I look forward to when we can spend time together in person. Bye for now.